back about 3 or 4 years ago, if you were putting an offer in, you were one of 15, 20 people who were doing so. So the fewer conditions you had, as you were told by your agent, the better the odds of you getting that home.
Right.
That in conjunction with the price that you were offering. Now people are coming in with offers that have conditions, and that's the way it should be. You shouldn't waive your financing condition until you know that's in place. Even though you're pre-approved, you still have to have the property. It's not just you being pre-approved, but the property you buy eventually has to be approved as well. So people think, okay, as long as I'm approved, I'm okay, I can go cash, whatever the case is. That's not necessarily true. You've got other factors that come into play, and one of them being is the quality of the property. If you're buying and I see them on listings, a handyman special, okay?
Yes.
Chances are there's going to be some issues with it, and chances are when the lender sees that, they're not going to want to jump on there and give you a mortgage for it.
Welcome to Fireside Chats with Val. Today I have the pleasure of sitting down with our very own mortgage broker at Valente Real Estate, Derek Foster. He's a principal broker with the Mortgage Center of Canada. Thank you for sitting down with me today.
My pleasure, Val.
I'm so excited to get started. I have so many questions for you.
Oh, good. Well, let's get her started then.
Well, first and foremost, when someone is thinking about buying their first home, what should be the very first step before they even start looking at homes?
I think the first step is to sit down with a mortgage professional. There are a lot of different programs available out there, some that might decrease your borrowing power, some that might increase your borrowing power. But until you actually sit down with somebody, you don't know exactly what you can afford or what you're qualified for. So getting pre-approved is the first thing you should do.
So it's really important to get pre-approved before you even start your journey.
Well, yeah, that way you avoid disappointment. You know exactly what you can afford. And working with a professional like yourself, they're then able to determine what part of the city they can live in, what they can afford, what type of property. So getting pre-approved is the ultimate first step.
And how much money do you actually need to buy a house in Canada?
Well, most people think if you're a first-time home buyer, you put 5% down, which is true, but it applies to everybody. I think the only thing that's a little different for first-time home buyers is the amortization can be stretched out, but anybody can get property for 5% down.
Oh, interesting. Can you tell me what would be a hidden cost? I know that I need a down payment, but what would be some cost buyers might not expect, even with their first home or even their fifth home that they've owned? What do you think they might not know about?
Well, I can tell you that our service is free, so there's no cost or hidden costs there. But you do have to retain a lawyer. On average, with disbursements and fees, the lawyer fees, you're looking at around $2,000 to $2,200. There's land transfer tax. As a first-time home buyer, the first $4,000 of that tax is forgiven. And if you're not a first-time home buyer, then you have to add that cost on based on what you're paying for the house. So it could ultimately be anywhere from $2,500 to $7,000 or $8,000, depending on the land transfer tax.
That's interesting.
But that's where the professional sits down and explains all that to you beforehand.
Yes, and that's why you have, as a mortgage broker, you have their best interest in mind.
We try. I think if you ask the people at the institutions who they work for, they'll name their employer. With us, our motto is we work for you, not the lenders. So if you were to ask me who I work for, I work for you.
And that's the same thing with agents. As myself, we work for our client and we work for their best interests. So that brings me into my next question. What would be the difference between walking into my own bank and talking to whoever's there and then going to someone like you as a mortgage broker? What would be the biggest differences and the best part of doing that too?
I think when you're talking, again, as I said earlier, we work for you, we don't work for the banks. And we put that in writing. So it's not something we can just say and not back up. The institutional lenders, they offer some decent rates and they have good products. But we also have those same products and additional products. We can deal with up to 40 different institutional credit lenders, alternate lenders. We've got a wide spectrum at our fingertips. So we're not governed by one particular product, by one particular lender. We can give you true choice and variety.
So you don't just work for banks?
No, we work for banks, life insurance companies, mutual fund companies, some that are called monoline lenders, which are like mortgage warehouses, and they simply offer you the best deals. So yes, we deal with everybody out there.
That's awesome. So if someone has an issue with their own bank, maybe going to someone like you helps them have more of leverage and makes it easier for them to get a mortgage.
Well, knowing that you put your trust in us, our obligation is to do the best we can for you. And it's not just mortgages per se, but we can do lines of credit, reverse mortgages, which are a big thing these days. So we have all those products that aren't necessarily available at the banks.
So what is a reverse mortgage?
So a reverse mortgage basically is somebody that's retired, their income level has dropped significantly, and they're finding it difficult to pay their day-to-day bills and any other obligations they have. Because they're retired and because their income has dropped, but they want to maintain their home, a reverse mortgage is simply providing them with some additional cash for their day-to-day needs. And the mortgage itself, there are no payments, but the interest does accrue. Mm-hmm. And it's repayable upon the death of the individual that owns a home, or if they were to sell the home. And if the principal and the interest exceeds the value of the home, it doesn't matter. They just get what they get from the proceeds of the sale.
That's really interesting. That like gives some people like a really good retirement plan in a way. It helps people retire that I know are really stressed about that sometimes.
When I find it too, sometimes I've had a couple recently where they come in looking to do a line of credit, and when you talk to them, and I guess that's the other thing, like listening to what the person is saying. Sometimes they'll tell you they have an issue, and it's not until you start discussing the matter with the client that you really get to the bottom of what the issue is. And reverse mortgages are designed for people that are retired and do have a low cash flow.
That's really awesome. I'm glad that you guys can do that.
We do.
So as a mortgage broker, it means that you can shop around to find better mortgages and better options and rates for your clients, obviously.
Yes, and I'll make it clear, there's no obligation. If you don't feel that we're doing the best for you, by all means, you're free to go somewhere else. There's no charge for our service. Mm-hmm. We get paid if we get the deal done. We get a commission from the lender. But I guess if you think about it, we're going to definitely make sure we do the best for you because we don't get paid if we don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. And that's why I think that our jobs are similar in some ways, because we look for the best interests of our clients and we work for our clients. And if we don't do our job or we can't do what we promised, then we don't get paid. Mm-hmm. So it is in our best interest to help them.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is the communication between the mortgage broker or the mortgage professional and the agent. Mm-hmm. Sometimes debt ratios, because these are things that are done in pre-approvals, might be a little tight. So the difference in a property tax of say $2,300 versus $4,400 might make a difference in their ability to qualify. So having that communication available and knowing that the person that the client is dealing with, both on the real estate side and the broker side, is getting the right information and that there's no surprises when it comes to close.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I have a lot of buyers right now that overpaid during COVID times, right. And now and now homes are going down. The worth of homes are not what they used to be when it was COVID and people were putting tons of offers and overpaying essentially for their homes. What would be something that you would suggest that they would do to try to gain that money back, or get back on their feet from there?
Well, the problem, you're right. The problem we have right now, there's a good number of properties out there that people try to bid on. It wasn't unusual to see 15, 16, or even 20 offers on a single property, which led to, people paying 100 to 150, almost 200,000 more than what the asking price was. The problem is when you have a correction in the market like we're seeing right now, the only two things I can suggest are, number one is patience. If you're going to try and sell your home now, it's a given you're going to lose money. Number two is reapproach your mortgage. In other words, look at paying it down faster. It doesn't take a great deal of money to reduce your balance. Anything in excess of your regular payment goes directly on the principal of your mortgage. If you're paying a monthly payment now, go to a weekly accelerated payment. That'll pay it down faster. For example, on a $300,000 mortgage over 5 years, the difference between the balance if you owed it monthly and if you did it accelerated weekly would be somewhere in the area of about $12,000 or $13,000 less that you would owe, more that would go in your pocket. So if you don't have the equity right now to make a move and you're concerned about it, rework your mortgage. Try to pay it down faster. Get as much as you can. And if you're not in that position to do so, then simply continue to make your payments and ride it out until things change. And they will eventually. I mean, rates will stabilize, the world will stabilize, and eventually, hopefully, property values will stabilize. So that's all you can do.
That's really good advice. I really like the way you worded that.
Oh, thank you. My grandfather side of me, right?
Oh, God.
You have a little granddaughter, you just have to explain things slowly.
Hey, I don't mind. I don't mind being told that it's like explaining it to a younger person.
Okay.
I'm okay with being that, but
Okay, we'll say younger
a grandchild.
Yeah. Oh, there are times where they tell me things I'm looking and going, what? I didn't know that, So,
I guess there's two ways of seeing things and two different spectrum, I guess.
well, I guess I just have more levels of family.
Right. I'm still just a mom for now. I just became an auntie, but
Oh, good.
yeah. So
I think, yeah, but I do. Getting back to the previous thing is being patient, I guess, above all else. And it's the same with you and myself. When you do a pre-approval for a client, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to run out and buy a home.
yeah.
I've got a client that I pre-approved about 5 or 6 times. Each pre-approval is good for about 4 months. But again, they're very picky and they're very determined. And the agent that's working with them, I'll give him credit. He's very patient with them. But it's been almost 2 years now that they've been looking. And I just keep renewing their pre-approval based on their advice to me. And eventually they'll find something.
Yeah. Hey, that's really interesting. I didn't know that a pre-approval can last 4 to 6 months.
Yep. Well, 4 months max. Usually 90 days to 120 days.
Okay. And that's usually like the amount of time normal time that we spend with a client to look for homes, and it gives us quite a bit enough time, I would say.
Yeah, I've worked with clients that have spent up to 6-9 months looking for a place. I have one client we just finished, actually just closed at the beginning of this month, and they were looking for over 2 years. So part of it is your budget, because if your budget's at the lower end, there's not so much available.
Yeah.
If your budget's at the higher end, you have a little bit more choice, because things that are in the higher price range right now aren't necessarily selling, right? They're on the market for some time.
Yeah.
So it depends on where your budget is as to how long it's going to take you to find something that you want. And most people want something they're going to live in for a long time, so they're not willing to settle for the first thing that comes along.
Very true.
Yeah.
So. What I'm finding with the market is that when it comes to houses that are moving quite a bit, a lot of times people want to wait before listing their homes because they're unsure if they're going to get the home, but then they lose out on the home with the offer and then trying to sell their home afterwards. if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And again, they could be in that price range too.
Right.
And if you're offside with your value versus your mortgage, you may be forced to stay there. And in some cases, that's being reflected now with the slower market.
Right.
People are willing to move around, but are finding that what they're going to get for their home isn't necessarily what they want. And everybody thinks they have a palace.
Yeah.
Whether they do or they don't, they do.
Yeah.
And which is they're right, because if you spend time and you put love into your property,
Right.
It
is our own little personal palace that we've
Right.
built. And it makes a lot of sense that, I mean, most people, they should think of their homes as their palace and as the best home in the world, because that's the way you should feel about yourself too. That leads me into my next question. Would you agree that this is more of a buyer's market at the moment?
I think it is. For what the buyers are out there, I'm starting to see now things come in below list, which has not been the case in the last 3 or 4 years, as you know.
Yeah.
People are now taking their time and looking at 2 properties without the fear of losing out on one while they look at the other. So they're not under the same kind of pressure as before.
Yeah.
So they are taking their time. They are negotiating the values, and they definitely have the advantage right now.
Right, I find that too, because writing an offer and going, well, I think the price that it's written at is pretty fair when, we're only offering maybe $5,000-$10,000 more than the list price, and we're not that far off. I think that homes right now are either priced correctly or they're overpriced. And then that's when we don't feel so much pressure as buyers to necessarily give a bigger amount when it comes to multiple offers.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's the other thing is I'm not seeing the multiple offer thing. Back about 3 or 4 years ago, if you were putting an offer in, you were one of 15, 20 people who were doing so. So the fewer conditions you had, as you were told by your agent, the better the odds of you getting that home.
Right.
That in conjunction with the price that you were offering. Now people are coming in with offers that have conditions, and that's the way it should be. You shouldn't waive your financing condition until you know that's in place. Even though you're pre-approved, you still have to have the property. It's not just you being pre-approved, but the property you buy eventually has to be approved as well. So people think, okay, as long as I'm approved, I'm okay, I can go cash, whatever the case is. That's not necessarily true. You've got other factors that come into play, and one of them being is the quality of the property. If you're buying and I see them on listings, a handyman special, okay?
Yes.
Chances are there's going to be some issues with it, and chances are when the lender sees that, they're not going to want to jump on there and give you a mortgage for it.
I like that you brought that up, because it is really true. We could throw anything at a house that the client really loves and say, well, it's listed for $499, but I'm going to give them $699. And that's true. It doesn't mean that the bank's going to think that it's worth $699 alongside of you. And that's when we could have trouble.
And the lenders, if you're putting less than 20% down, it has to be insured through either a Sagan, Canada Guarantee, or CMHC, which is Canada Mortgage and Housing. That's the government. They have to issue insurance policies to the lender that allows the lender to give you the mortgage. So even though you're dealing with a particular lender, it's not necessarily the lender makes that decision. It's the insurance company. So it's not unusual. And lately, so when the market was going crazy, you're approved.
Okay.
Now that the market has come down and there's suspect values, it's not unusual for the insurance company to send an appraiser out there to look at it first to determine the value before they issue the insurance policy. So people say, I got my CMHC approval. It's not an approval. It's an insurance policy that's protecting the lender. Even though that insurance premium is added to your mortgage, it doesn't do anything for you. It protects the lender. So, and if CMHC or Sagan say, no, we are not going to insure it, there's nothing the lender can do about it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, people looking to buy their first home yes, it may be in the lower end of the budget, so to speak, but they want something that's going to be nice. And they know if they take on a handyman project, chances are there might be some issues getting the financing. So they got to be careful.
Yeah, that's probably why having a mortgage on a house, like when it comes to handyman specials, paying cash or using a lot of like, I wouldn't necessarily put a mortgage on a house like that if you're just doing it to flip it. Like,
Well, we do private mortgages as well as institutional mortgages, and a lot of the private mortgages are designed for specifically that. So
okay.
we can do what we call a blanket mortgage, which is a mortgage, but it covers more than one property. So if they have their own home at this point and they're going in to basically fix this up and then sell it to make more money, we can cover both properties using the equity here to cover the renovation work here. And even though this property may not be in the best of shape, having this particular property that is in better shape would allow us to then advance the funds. So I guess as a mortgage broker, we tend to be more creative when it comes to financing.
You're using the equity that the person has in place already to help them achieve goals that sometimes we say it takes money to make money, but this way you're creating a good way for them to do that.
And that's something the banks won't do.
Right.
So there is a niche when it comes to those types of financing that brokers or mortgage professionals can do that banks cannot do or won't do. But at the end of the day, we simply offer the best solutions and the best advice for the client. Because as I said before, we work for them, not the lender.
That's really important. I want to thank you for your precious time today, Derek. And you've been so informative. Knowing that you work for the client with their best interests really brings it home for me. So if you guys have any questions, please comment below. I hope to have another chat with Derek Foster real soon to really answer some more of my questions and also your questions.
Yeah, and if if people have questions, Val, they can reach out to Valente Real Estate and ask for you, and pepper you with whatever questions they have.
Yeah, and if there's anything I don't know, I know to go see Derek.
Just walk in my door.
Because essentially we work in the same office and we see each other quite a bit. So yes, you're very, very. I can't talk.
Anyway, it's been my pleasure, Val. Thank you
so
again
much
for inviting me. I look forward to this, and I enjoyed doing this and telling people about mortgages and about life.
Thank you. I mean, I learned a lot of things. So even if it's just for me today, then, I mean, you taught me lots.
Well, thank you.